I am here with these four amazing looking in alumni. And I first want to thank you for coming here to ISTSS. And I definitely wanted to have the opportunity to learn from you what has been some of the lessons learned from the conference. What is it like for young people like you to be part of this international conference where there is tons of sharing and a lot of research and clinical work that is being presented? So I'm just curious to know, how has it been for you?
Well, I find it interesting how you say us young people, but I feel like all of the topics discussed, from sex trafficking to racism to PTSD, involves everyone from young to old. So it's great to have us here because we can relate to everyone in our age group, so people who are younger can still understand that trauma affects everyone, not just older people.
Thank you very much.
I learned that the experience that I have, I finally found the vocabulary to describe them. Like, oh, what I went through has a word, and this is the word that's being used in a professional setting. So how can I introduce that into my own social settings as well as my own therapeutic process?
I think it was really, first of all, I just want to say thank you for having us. I think that it was really an interesting experience to be a part of, and to see that there's such a large body of work and group of people that are contributing to PTSD, which isn't necessarily as widely understood or talked about as it should be. So to kind of be in a smaller kind of sphere or bubble where we have experts and researchers, it was really, really encouraging and inspiring. So it kind of makes me want to now gear towards this direction of PTSD psychology, because I knew I wanted to do psychology, but I wasn't sure exactly where I wanted to go with it. So
yeah, it's a pretty big shift for me. I'm not usually that big into the hard sciences and the numbers and all of the data. It's just not how my brain works. I don't need that to prove to me that it works, but to see all of the work that goes in to these programs in order to get the funding to keep these things going has been great, and a little overwhelming at times to be overloaded with all of this info. But then after going and talking to the people giving these presentations and just seeing how passionate and knowledgeable they are, and as I was tweeting, I haven't even been here for 48 hours, but at the beginning it was all these long sentences and everything, and now I'm throwing in all the abbreviations and really kind of getting this great understanding from what's being talked about.
Excellent, thank you. That's exciting to hear, that it's making sense. It's actually something that you can utilize and you can help us spread the good word here. So you are actresses, you are actors. So tell me how this information is relevant to the work that you do.
I think for me, I can speak to, I think it's extremely relevant because I was studying, I was doing an individualized major with arts activism, which is what I called it, taking psychology, public policy, communication, and infusing it with art, specifically theater, as a means for not just expression, but healing and therapy. So I think and I saw a couple of presentations that talked about research and studies that they had with veterans who did a film, and the veterans spoke to the fact that creating the film they felt was a lot more therapeutic in them being able to express their experience and kind of navigate their own kind of healing through that versus just therapy, where the therapist or the clinician kind of controls everything. So.
And going off that, what Spencer was saying about numbers, everybody takes in information differently. So if you're telling someone something with a whole bunch of statistics and a whole bunch of numbers, they might just go by their heads. But if they actually see it on stage, people acting it out, going through it right in front of their eyes, they might feel it in a deeper way than just saying it to them. So I feel like that's a good way.
I also think an interesting difference I mean, for my artistic practice, which includes, poetry, film, acting, it's all about the intensely personal and very individual and very specific to me as an individual and my experience or whatever experience I'm embodying. It's not this broad scale thing that we see with statistics. And so to take that hyper specific and then go to this very broad, and how can we apply these numbers to all people who suffer from X, Y, or Z? I don't even think I have the words to articulate what letting those two play together will do, but I think it's good to exercise my brain in that way and then have these people exercise their brain in this other way and see, let's experiment and see what happens when we pull these two very different modes of looking at these problems together.
Okay. So now that I'm on the pre-med track, but I want to focus on languages, and so now that I understand that there is vocabulary to describe certain experiences, how can I translate those into other languages so that way communities that for whatever reason do not have access to medicine, how can I diffuse that information into their communities in their own language?
So you were invited, but you were invited. I don't know how much detail you had for this invitation, but you say yes. So I'm just curious to know what made you say yes. I know that you have a wonderful connection with Jonathan, your director, but tell me what made you say yes.
Well, for me, it was the whole idea of trauma, because everybody I know, including myself, has went through something. So coming here and learning about all the different aspects from all over the world, because it wasn't just talking about things that happened in the U.S. So I feel like that was a great learning experience. And now that I know more about specific things, I can express it to other people. So I just wanted to come and learn and see what everyone had to offer.
Yeah, just to speak to that point, I think the biggest thing was trauma as well that brought me in. Because like I said, that's one of the things that I'm most interested in as far as alleviating kind of the pain in which our society, through psychology, but more so theater as well. So I think when we were able to take these two things and put them together, I don't know, I feel like I'm contributing something.
It was looking in, and Jonathan just reached out to me, and it's been a while, so I was like, yeah, might as well go back and see what's the whole fuss about. And then now I'm really glad that he reached out to me, that I came, because this has been a very amazing experience. Now I know the vocabulary. I'm going back to the vocabulary because now that I have words to describe experiences, that I can help out my peer group, and I can how can I further that conversation.
Yeah, obviously, if Jonathan picks up the phone and says, "Hey, let's go drive somewhere and see what happens," I'm into that. And Julian has also helped me a great deal. This is not something I get to do every day. This is a big departure from what my day-to-day world looks like, and I'm always down to go see something else that I haven't seen before.
Right. And it's just an appreciation of each other and of knowledge, and the fact that if one person decides to put something out there that everyone's related to, then we can all be a community, all be connected. So that's what I feel like the ISTSS has been doing since I came here. We've all been one community of people trying to move forward with trauma and help each other out and learn from each other.
I'm glad to hear that you felt the warmth.
Yeah.
So that's really cool. So if you would have summarized, in just a few words, what has it been like? What has it been your lesson learned from these 2 days? What would it be?
I would say there is a lot of information and research and knowledge that to take from, to learn from, to pull from, but within that same there's still a lot that needs to be done and furthered. There's still a lot of uncharted territory in which a lot of people maybe because there hasn't been a body of work of, say specifically, I remember I went to the program of, you can't talk about trauma without talking about race. There's not a lot of body of work about that in particular, but that kind of inspires me to do more of that or look into that in the future.
I would say it's post-traumatic growth. It's like no one ever talks about like the aftermath. Like they always talk about like the suffering, and they always talk about like the negative part, but then never talk about like, oh, what was the wisdom that was gained? Like how can you better yourself and your community and your peer group? And so now that I understand like that there's a concept around like post-traumatic growth, it's like how do I facilitate that? How do I cultivate that when there is an incident or an event that's traumatic? Like how do I continue the growth? Right? How do I keep cultivating it?
It's good to know that, because we all know that people go through stuff, but it's good to know coming here that there's actually people trying to help each other. There's actually people researching and doing experiments and going and doing home visits to people, which I feel like is a good takeaway because it makes me also want to do something like that.
Oh yeah, and going back to the home visits, like there's practitioners and clinicians that do texting therapy.
Yeah.
And I thought that was like, it's amazing because like,
Forward thinking.
right? Because it's like not, sometimes it's just inconvenient to go to a therapy session, but if you have your therapist, your clinician texting you, and they're asking you like these really like intense questions, and you don't have to give them like an answer immediately. Like, oh, okay, you texted me, I'm gonna give you back an answer in 24 hours. But it's like I needed those 24 hours to not only process the question that you gave me, but also to like develop an answer that is satisfying to me.
Yeah, overall I've found it, at times overwhelming and it's intense, it's hard, but it's really beautiful and I've yet to have a conversation with somebody that I wanted to get out of. Every single person I've talked to is like, if we didn't have more stuff to go do, we would still be sitting there talking, and just the compassion that everybody has, it makes me feel really good that these are the people taking care of people, and that their hearts are so open, and that they are so knowledgeable, and
It's beautiful.
yeah, it's a really beautiful thing to see.
Oh, that's so nice to hear. So, what are the areas of improvement? If you would like to tell us how can we improve a bit, there is always room for improvement. What would it be?
I think
The conference?
Yeah.
So,
I think it would be like inviting more like high schooler students, because especially considering like during one of the talks yesterday, there was a mass shooting, right? And so it would be very helpful for the younger, the Zoomers, right? That's what they call themselves, the Zoomers, to like come in and like understand like, okay, we're going through these like social changes of like mass shootings and like these incidents of mass violence in general, right? And they don't have like the language or just the experiences to navigate that. And so by having high school students come here, like, oh, okay, these are the people who can help before it happens, during the event, and after the event.
I'd say not only just high school students, but I think those who are directly affected by trauma, the clients who have kind of some experience, or there's evidence on whether the research or the development's been working or not, for them to come in and kind of do a presentation and themselves and talk about what that's like, to get a different perspective, because I think it's really great to get the perspective of the practitioner and the clinicians in their research, but I think it's also another aspect that we're missing to get the other end's perspective on things.
Yeah. In addition, like Orlando was saying about the texting, I feel like it'd be good to use more modern tools. And for example, in the race talk, we were talking about a lot of the history that we had, and I feel like it would have also been helpful to talk about the here and now, what everyone's going through today instead of the past, so that we know how to move forward from here on out.
I think more hours in the day would help. Yeah. But really, you know, on some of these panels where we have 3 or 4 presenters who each could fill the entire hour and 15 slot, you know, and then they're rushing and you know, it's, I don't know, maybe we would get more out of, you know, 2 presenters in that time slot instead of 4, and then we can really get in, because these question and answer things have been very powerful, but, you know, this long, and then you're missing the next thing, you know, but at the same time, that's just kind of the nature of these events, you know.
Thank you for letting us know. And we have here the director of Looking In, who has helped us bring this amazing kids. Sorry that I'm calling you kids, but you are my kids. You are, so Jonathan, what has it been like for you? I mean, this is your first time at the ISTSS.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Well, I was very proud of the 3 who were at the session I was at. They asked the smartest questions in the room, which I really thought was good. I agree. It's really overload. You get so much stuff. It's really hard to process it all. I mean, at the end of the day, yesterday I was exhausted because I just felt like I got all this material. I wanted to stop and say, okay, I want to spend. I mean, you could write a PhD just on this one thing right here.
Some of them are.
Yeah, right, exactly. But that's sort of what it is. It's just figuring it out. And I think that what we do when we do theater is we're taking these ideas and then we're making them concrete and specific in real people. We did another conference a number of years ago where it was about something else. It was about absent fathers, getting them involved in their children's lives. We did a national conference, we did some regional conferences, and for that I said, we're putting a human face on the pieces of paper. And a lot of said, we're putting a human face on the research that people are doing. Some of the research is so well done, and so, but I agree, I want to know what the practical application is. That's where